Welcome, travelers,
to another episode of the Time Travel Show podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Hyde.
And we're
the Time Travel Trio.
And it's our finale.
Wow.
3 years, 80 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
Lots of time.
Lots
oh my God.
of time. Time.
Sometimes millions of years.
Sometimes, yeah. Boy, if you're just watching the time machine, it is definitely that much time.
Yeah.
Woo!
Wow.
Guys, we made it. We're at the end of our time journey.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm thrilled. We're going to talk about some awesome stuff today in our last episode. We're going to do a retrospective, but before we get to that, which I'm very stoked to hear your guys' favorite episodes and least favorite episodes that we've done.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, we were able to get in touch with this awesome movie called Time Trap, and we were able to see it in advance of its release, and we got to interview some of the filmmakers.
Yeah, we got to interview the writer and the two directors of it. Mark Dennis, he is the writer and also the co-director, and Ben Foster, who was the co-director. Yeah,
and they were really great. We got to talk to them over Skype, and they were so generous with their time and just really interesting guys that I think we would. If there was time, we would talk time travel with these guys for a long time, I have a feeling.
They had a lot of really cool insights, and they liked a lot of the same movies we did, and you could see some of the influences on it, which we will talk about in the interview,
Absolutely.
Of course. But it really is a joy, and so this is a film that is going to be in select cities November 2nd, and then on digital and streaming
the 13th, yeah.
Okay.
November 13th, yeah. So iTunes.
On Amazon, iTunes. Yeah.
iTunes, Amazon, I think.
Some other VOD platforms.
So definitely look for it. This is a really cool movie. It's about an hour and a half. It's a great watch. It's really fun. So here's our interview with Mark and Ben. So first, we want to say we watched your movie and really enjoyed it. It was really great. We've seen a lot of time travel. We've done 80 episodes of our podcast, so we've seen a lot of time travel movies, and we're definitely impressed. It was really great. So we appreciate you reaching out to us.
Awesome. Glad you guys liked it.
Should we do some little quick introductions?
Yeah. So I'm Jen.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Hyde.
And we're the Time Travel Trio.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can never remember the name of it. What's the stupid movie that I wanted to do?
Project Almanac.
I don't know if you ever saw that movie, Project Almanac. So that was kind of the movie that inspired the idea for me, and I presented it to these guys, and we're good friends. I saw Project Almanac in theaters, and I loathed it with a burning passion because it was just not great. So I had to just kind of rant about it and how sloppy the time travel was. And so we had a really great conversation about it, and I thought, hey, maybe people would want to listen.
We should record this.
And 3 years later, here we are. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
How about you guys? How did you guys get started into filmmaking? How did you guys meet each other? Pad Thai Pictures, that's an interesting name. Was this developed over dinner? And you're like, what are we going to call it? And you're like, oh.
Well, that ties in well. Ben and I went to film school together at University of Texas in Austin, and right across from the communication building where all the film studios were, the TV studios, there was this great Thai place called Madam Mam's, and we bonded over eating pad Thai all the time because that was our meal, was the pad Thai.
Nice.
And we got paired up for a class. We didn't really know each other, and everybody else kind of paired up with their friends. Ben was really he was very visual, and he had a really cool camera and an editing setup, and he was way ahead of everybody else as far as visual style. And I always had a script, and it was just a good pairing. I could show him the script, and we could figure things out together, and we made this little short, and it was a lot of fun. And we realized that what he lacked, I made up, and vice versa.
Nice.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
So,
Ben, are you still there?
Yeah, no, I'm on here. Before we were even in that class, though, we both saw each other in another class, and we both had Back to the Future T-shirts on. And I remember being like, "Nice shirt," and then I talked to him years later, and he was like, "Yeah, I said nice shirt too, but I thought you were a douchebag."
I know it's kind of hard sometimes, but some fandoms you're like, okay, they like that thing, but are they that kind of fan, or are they my kind of fan? So you kind of have to suss them out before you actually kind of oh hey, we're the same.
Well, especially with Back to the Future, because it's so popular, so you never know how deep of a fan someone is, or if they're just I like.
Yeah, if they were just at Target and bought the shirt.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I bought mine at Target.
Nice.
Yeah, I did
I
too.
mean, they have good
shirts.
shirts.
Yeah, this might have been from Target. I don't know. Nice Stranger Things shirt. So I guess how did you come up with the idea for Time Trap?
Ben and I were trying to put another movie together called Enduro, and while we were sending out offers to a bunch of actors, trying to get them to sign on so that we could get some of the funding. And anytime you send one of these offers out, you wind up having to wait for a couple weeks, and we were waiting and killing 2 weeks. And I remember thinking, like, I just want to know if it's a yes or a no now. I don't want to have to do all of this waiting. And I think the idea was, like, if I could just go into this closet here, I could come out and it would be 2 weeks later that would solve my problems. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea for a movie. But growing up in Central Texas, the creepy fun place was always a cave because there's caves everywhere. So it turned into Time Cave instead.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask about the filming location. I imagine you guys were actually in Texas or Austin specifically.
Yeah, we shot in Austin, and Mark had this idea for a movie and a script, and we were like, I mean, there's plenty of caves, but they're all protected, and it's hard to go in there and like, can we really set up shop in a cave? And I talked to my mom, and she was like, oh, your friend Joe has a cave. And at first I was like, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. And she was totally right. And I talked to my buddy Joe, and he was like kind enough to let us. At first we were like, oh, we'll just come out for 2 weeks, and I think 2 months later we were finally out of his hair.
Wow.
And and they had this incredible piece of property in kind of North Austin that we shot at, and then we also shot out in West Texas in Sonora. There's a place called Caverns of Sonora, and if you ever do the drive across the country and you're in the middle of Texas, stop at Caverns of Sonora because it's one of the most beautiful show caves in the country. And I don't think we really did it any justice in our movie, but
was that the tall cave?
There's some awesome rooms.
Were they like climbing up? Was that that show cave?
It was several caves. It was the really big room when Jackie falls, and then it was some other tunnel stuff, and then also whenever they're running at the end and all the like popcorn looking walls. That's all in Caverns of Sonora too, because they have so many different rooms with different textures.
Yeah, that's great.
And then we shot a little bit out in L.A. at the Bronson Canyon, the Bat Cave, the old Adam West Batman series. We shot at the cave there. So that was the easiest cave because you could drive a car and just park it in there. Nice. And these other caves, we had to like hike in with equipment, and everything breaks. None of the radios work. It was a luxury shooting in Los Angeles for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's awesome. What movies or shows did you guys watch to kind of inspire the story?
Well, we both kind of grew up on the same movies. My favorite movie is Terminator 2. Ben's is Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. I think that being a Goonies kid had a lot to do with it. Like I grew up in an area where you would leave at 8 a.m. and just be gone all day exploring the woods and stuff, and that was like the most fun ever. Being able to do that, I think that those kinds of movies were the kinds that excited me the most. Stand By Me, Goonies, just anything that brought out like the inner 13-year-old. So those are probably the big hits for me.
Yeah, and that kind of influenced how we shot it too. Because if you watch Goonies, there's no like the descent, like dark black scenes with just a flashlight. We wanted to make sure that this cave was kind of well lit, which obviously isn't realistic. But we wanted to do something that was a little safer and a little more fun. So I think the style of the Goonies definitely influenced the way it looks.
Yeah, and there definitely is that vibe.
Yeah. And I appreciate.
We wanted like 6-year-olds to be able to watch. Sorry, it's funny because I can see you guys.
It's hard because
but I can see you like start to talk.
It's okay.
I don't even know what I was saying. Oh, we wanted 6-year-olds to be able to watch it and still be able to enjoy it, and then one day be 26 and see the same movie in a different way and also enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. And also had like the kind of supernatural thing with like the Fountain of Youth, obviously, and that the final room that we don't actually like enter. We kind of see this like epic battle between conquistadors and cavemen. That like it's kind of like the captured magic that is kind of left to your imagination, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it didn't cost very much to shoot a big battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smart.
Very little choreography.
Yeah. You stand
Stay
here.
Really
you stand there.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I guess, what did you guys do to research the time travel? I know it sounds like you guys are fans of time travel already. Did you do research, read books, or or anything like that?
I wouldn't say that there's any real research done, except for like just making sure that the timing made sense. Because I know that you have to figure out, like, is it one day as every time the sun goes by, and whenever you find out later that it's more than that, we actually had to figure out how much time had passed before the Explorer comes down. We didn't want it to sound stupid. I want to say we had 3 or 4 of these conversations where we weren't sure of ourselves. We weren't sure that we'd come up with the correct formula, and so we would sit there and we would count again and do the math until everything made sense.
Yeah, and we kind of looked for those type of like plot holes, but we actually didn't find any in your guys, thankfully.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
Great.
yeah, it worked out because like obviously you guys went forward. You didn't mess with like going back and changing things, and then it became a question of, okay, so the cavemen are in there for we don't really know how long, but long enough for the hundreds of thousands of years to pass. And then all the people that we follow, they kind of go in there in an overspan of days, and so that kind of, for them, it's almost instant because the way you guys designed it, it's like, if you're gone for half an hour, it's instantaneous, or 2 days, it's seconds, or even a minute or two, So
right,
yeah.
And another thing that's weird to think about is the room with the conquistadors and the cavemen all fighting. That's going at a completely different speed than the surface, so it's like gears just going faster and faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I liked the different ways that you kind of helped to clue in the audience, especially the GoPros. I thought was a really smart way to do that without kind of...
Yeah, with Furby.
What's the word? Like throwing up science at people, so to speak, which we see a lot. Like it's too much, yeah. But I liked that it was in a very clear way that an audience could follow. And so I appreciated that as someone who watches a lot of time travel.
A lot of that is just sort of it's just a leftover from the original script, because Mark, when he first sent this script to me, I was shooting a commercial in Scotland. He was in Thailand.
Oh, wow.
Just on vacation. And he was like, hey, I've got an idea for a movie. Check this out. And it was the first 45 pages or something like that. And it was a found footage movie. And our plan, like Mark said, we were waiting on this other script, this other movie that we wanted to do to get going. And he was like, we could do this with your camera, go back to Texas, shoot it in a cave there, and just have like a practice movie and something to be making.
Yeah.
And so it was all found footage, and we showed that to our director of photography, and he was like, you guys should do this as a cinematic movie. This is a really cool idea. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad we took his advice, because it really is, and it deserves to be a more cinematic movie. And I think we were kind of at the tail end of the found footage fad, so it was a good thing.
Oh, that's great.
But those elements, the GoPro and all that stuff, they're still in there, and I don't know that those would have been present if the idea was always a cinematic film.
Right, they helped shape the script and shape a lot of the twists that happened in the movie. Mm-hmm. It was almost like it wrote itself.
Yeah.
That was great. So now you kind of mentioned, did you guys know how long, or I guess how much time passed in each layer? Did you leave it kind of vague on purpose, or did you ever kind of plan that out?
I think we figured it out one time. When it was first written, go ahead.
Every 7 seconds is 1 year.
Okay.
That's pretty much what it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, wow.
Okay.
That's some interstellar stuff. Right?
Yeah.
And if you look at a shot where they're looking up at the top of the cave and you see the solstice go back and forth, you can pretty much just count and know how it works.
Okay, so that's the year, right? The full year. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it goes all the way to the left, and that's summer, and then it goes back to the other side, and that's winter, and then when it gets back to the left, you're back at summer. So that's 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, that's cool.
But trying to figure out the total amount of time that's gone by, if somebody wanted to do that, they wouldn't really be able to, because there's so much missed time whenever you there's a few minutes between scenes, or maybe it was an hour. You don't really know how much time has passed, so you're not going to get a definitive answer.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I know that that Hopper's sister, her scream was kind of like that connected our two party of Hopper and the party. They both heard it, so we know that they were basically there around the same time.
Right.
So because it was 2 days since the party joined there, but doing the math, you could figure out it was a few seconds, right? Or less than a second.
I'm glad that you noticed the scream, because I've never really talked to anybody about that. No one's ever brought it up before.
Well, welcome to
but
us.
that's something that we consciously did. We're like, if we put it here and put it here, people will tie it together.
Yeah.
But no one said anything yet. That's cool. Somebody finally acknowledged it.
Well, the first time I heard a scream,
the other interesting thing is that that sequence where you go back to Hopper and you see him entering the cave and exploring and stuff like that, that used to just run all continuous from the beginning. And one of the last edits that we made was as soon as the kids hit the threshold and Taylor's hand is touching the the time waves or whatever. We go back to Hopper, and putting all that stuff real fresh in everybody's mind really helps all that stuff connect.
Yeah, I agree.
Good.
I was saying, it kind of the first time I heard the scream, I was like, okay, I know what that means later on. And obviously, we don't see her being kidnapped, but we see her having been kidnapped, and I'm like, okay, I kind of was like, okay, that was her scream, because it wasn't Furby or whatever, because it was a young girl scream. Yeah.
Did you ever map out how long each character spent down in the caves?
I don't remember ever doing that. We might have talked about it. Oh no! Oh, you mean like all of the different eras of people, like the hippies and the conquistadors, and you don't mean the individual like Goonies kids. You mean like everybody from. Yeah. At one time, I remember sending Ben something that was the entire history of the cave. This was at least a year ago, so I don't remember what it was. But it was like from the moment that it was created, and then everybody who would ever come in, and then would come in the future.
Yeah. Wow.
So you had a kind of like a Bible set up before you even started shooting?
No, this came after, actually. It wasn't. Okay. I don't think that we planned on it before like that. We made this movie in kind of a crazy way. I wrote the script right around my birthday in the middle of May and sent it to Ben right after that, and we were shooting in the middle of August. Oh, wow. Like we did all of our pre-production in under 3 months, all the casting and stuff. Like it came together very, very quickly, but because of that, there wasn't enough time writing it. I don't think that we thought everything through. We wound up spending a lot more time in post-production, reshooting things, and trying to make things work better because the script wasn't quite there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I think it does check out, because for 40 years in the cave, if every 7 seconds is a year, that's 40 times 7 seconds. So that could just be even a few minutes for the hippies. Obviously they were kind of they were killed by the cavemen.
I know when we mapped it, we mapped it out at one point to make sure that it all made sense. We didn't have the exact timing make sense, but we made sure that if we were going to do it, someday somebody would go through and do all the math and try to figure it out and call us out, because we all do that. We do that with our favorite movies all the time. Well, that doesn't make sense, and we were like, well, let's make it make as much sense. Actually, this is more of a Ben thing. He wants to make sure that it makes more sense, and I'm like, nah, it's fine. Nobody cares. He's like, well, let's just try, and we eventually got to a point where we realized, yes, it does work. So, all right, we could move on.
Yeah, that's a good balance, because sometimes you feel like if it's just one writer director, they care too much about it making sense. Like maybe we saw some movies where people just explain for a whole scene on temporal jargon,
displacement. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
That movie?
It's a very low budget.
I think it's on Amazon. Yeah. But there was a lot of science jargon in that one.
Yeah, but I can definitely see that balance of like, let's have it be fun and make sure the logic is there behind the scenes, but like don't over explain it, which I think it was you guys did a good job with.
Mm-hmm. And like you guys said, just going forward helps too. Like we're not getting into the mess of going backwards through time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's where all the messy plot hole problems usually come in. When there's too much back and forth. So I did like that Hopper left the cave though at one point and kind of saw kind of time progressing outside of the cave. I did like that you guys did that too. I thought that was cool.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite things about the
wasteland thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When Kara left, that's where I kind of clicked on how the logic works, because I was like, for her, she saw 30 minutes, but everyone just was instantly. I was like, wait, how does that work, relatively speaking? And then I had to wrap my head around. Okay, in the cave is basically your clock is slower, faster, however it is.
Well, the nice thing too was that there was times like that. There was a couple times when, because he and I watched it together, but. When I was like, oh, that's because this is happening. But then the characters, 10 seconds later, will, basically explain that. And so it was really nice that if you're not us who's watched a million time travel movies, that you can still follow along and you can get it and it doesn't like take forever. And so I appreciate that it's not just all thrown at you at the end. You can kind of progress as the characters progress and understand too.
Well, it's tough to figure out what the audience is going to understand as you go, because we fight with each other a lot about this. Like, are people gonna get it? Well, are we talking down to them if we try to explain it to them?
Right.
Who's the audience for this? And we really want to make sure that everybody can like it. And if you go a little bit older, people are going to start saying, "Oh, it didn't make any sense," blah 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 blah. But then you got the middle schoolers that are just like, "Coolest thing I've ever watched. I can't wait to see it again."
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
We made it for our 13-year-old selves, not our 36-year-old selves.
And I think that's why it's fun. That's why it's more enjoyable. It doesn't take itself like the most serious thing.
Yeah.
Like, not to bring up Primer again, but that's something that Primer could probably have used more of, is to like make it also like a fun adventure.
He needed cavemen. He needed cavemen in the storage facility.
Cavemen are very important.
We don't see enough cavemen in time travel. I have to tell you.
That's true. Yeah.
Missed opportunity in Sound of Thunder, I've got to say.
Sound of Thunder. That's our favorite.
That's a
worst
favorite bad movie.
Yeah.
That's a great one, yeah.
It's a really good one to watch.
Dan Kingsley. And
Do you guys like Butterfly Effect?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that because I love it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. I had some problems with how they chose to change things, but it was a fun, for the time, it was a fun early 2000s movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not perfect, but it doesn't matter because it's time travel. It doesn't have to
It is, yeah. It is fun. Do you guys know, just side note, do you guys know about the secret Rachel McAdams quadrilogy? That
No.
she's been in
what's that?
4 different time travel movies where she's dated someone who's time traveled, but she herself has never time traveled.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's pretty crazy.
But what is it? So it's About Time, The Time Traveler's Wife, and then what are the other two?
Doctor Strange and
Midnight in Paris.
Midnight in Paris.
Oh, wow. That's
right?
really interesting.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, we
That's
always
very
say,
weird.
like whenever we like pitch a fake movie on our podcast, we always cast her because we want her to
Sure.
actually time travel.
Yeah.
So if you guys ever do another time travel movie, cast Rachel
Get her
McAdams.
in there.
Please.
I'm sure she wants to time travel.
She has to know, right? Like, we say this all the time, but she has to realize it, I would think.
I'm sure she knows. I don't think she would keep taking parts playing the love interest of a time traveler if she wasn't trying to say something. We're gonna, what's gonna happen? We're gonna find out in like 40 years that she's 300 years old or something,
Yep.
and she's a time traveler herself.
Yes.
She's trying to tell us something.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
No, I totally agree.
Her and like Keanu Reeves and like Winona Ryder.
Keanu Reeves is definitely a time traveler.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman is a time
Hugh
traveler.
Jackman.
A quick question we had about how did the future race know where to find them, the cave, like how was that like plotted out? Like what's the...
Was it from the beacon that they found them, or how did they know where to find the cave entrance?
Ben, you can take this one. You're the one that
Which
made me
one?
do it.
Wait, what did I make you do? Say the question again.
Oh, the like how the future race kind of knew where to find them and find the cave. Was it from the beacon?
Well, I think so. I think the thinking on this is that this guy's coming down. The Earth has died basically, and everybody lives on Mars. But there is, some piece of life where some piece of this place on Earth where life began, and that's kind of we're getting much bigger than the actual movie. But the idea is that this cave is maybe where that happened, and so they're able to detect it with their satellites around the Earth or whatever, and they've sent a guy back, and he's going into the cave to get this piece of water to see if they can. If it's useful for them elsewhere. So I don't think he's actually looking for these kids, but I don't know what Google's going to be like in 4,000 years, but there's a good chance that we're all on Ancestry.com and, whatever. So that scan on their eyes is just the future people, reverse image searching these people.
Okay.
And this is what he's come up with.
Okay.
And that's his way of telling them what happened, while they're gone, because he understands how the cave works by now for whatever reason. And
Interesting.
he can't talk to him. So this is how he does it.
Okay.
That's cool.
Okay.
Did you have any more layers? I know each layer is a different speed. Is the frozen battle layer, is that the final layer around the fountain?
No.
Okay.
It goes further. It goes further. There's a mini series, a limited series already, structured for this that we've figured out a couple years ago.
Awesome.
That I would love to be able to make it someday. And we talked to a TV studio one time about it, and we felt like we were getting close, but it didn't happen. Maybe sometime in the future, if this takes off, you'll see a Time Trap, the series, or something like that. But it definitely goes back further, and what it goes back to is such a fun, interesting thing. So that it goes full circle for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I actually, I said this before we started that I felt like this movie could be a prequel for a miniseries. Genuinely.
Like, the future, the people in the future.
Yeah. So.
Every day we get closer.
Yeah.
I hope so. I guess one more question from us. Did you guys have any unique challenges while directing this film, like how you were going to tackle the time wall or things like that you kind of had to brainstorm?
I don't know. I think one of the hardest things is just shooting in the cave, working with a script that we weren't maybe quite done with, and every movie I'm sure you're just up against yourselves and each other to a degree. So I would say that's the hardest thing.
I think that. Go ahead, sorry.
No, just the whole. Don't shoot a movie in a cave.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that what I found hard was usually when you're shooting something, you have a lot of like normal days, and you might have like a couple of difficult days, and you'll have like one really hard day, and you're like, man, that was a really hard day. I can't believe we got through that. And this movie was like the first day. I just don't think we were ready, and we started, and it was really hard the first day. And it was like, okay, it was just, tough first day. And then it was like a second day and a third day. And then by the time like the fifth or sixth day came around, we realized this was a really, really hard movie to make. And we had probably bit off more than we could chew. And we were just like every day just hoping to like make it home to go to sleep. It was tough.
I mean, I imagine too, you kind of lose track of time because you're in a cave. You can't really like see the sun,
Yeah, and we had to flip the shooting one time from day to night, in like a day or day and a half, and that's always really tough on everyone too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess we also want to know where can people find this movie? Is it going to be on digital at some point, or?
It comes out in November.
So we have a limited theatrical, LA, Austin, a few other cities. Dig around for that, starting on November 2nd, and then on November 13th, it'll be out on iTunes and Amazon and all the places that you can rent a movie, the VOD
Very nice.
platforms and all that stuff. So, if enough people rent it, maybe we'll make that series and you can see what happens deeper into the cave.
Yes,
very nice.
Please
That'd be
do.
fun.
If you guys need to talk time travel, if you make your series, we're always happy to dissect that.
That's a good idea, actually. We can fact check or logic check everything with you guys.
We know too much.
We did a lot of research.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with us. And this is like honestly so cool for us to be able to watch a movie and then talk to people who made it. And this was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've had some guests on, but this is the first time we actually talked to a writer and director of a time travel movie. So
cool.
It's special for us. Yeah.
That's cool.
Can I leave you guys with a recommendation? If you haven't seen it, I think it's a Spanish movie. It's called Morir o No, meaning to see or not. I think that's what it's called. I think I got it right. To die or not. That's what it is. Morir or No. MORIR.
Yeah, I think that's death.
No.
I think that's to die in Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Check it out. I've never seen a movie like it, and I think about it all the time.
Interesting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. Thank you.
Thanks for having us on. It's been fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for being
absolutely.
here.
Yeah,
Thank you so
you,
much.
Mari. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, and good luck with
Thank you, guys.
with your film. I hope a lot of people see it.
We do
Us
too.
too.
Bye.
All right, thank you
All right,
guys.
bye, guys.
Okay, so there you go. We got to talk to them. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's the first time we ever talked to people that wrote a time travel movie.
I know, and like you can really tell, and they kind of mentioned this, but they really took the time to get to understand the time travel and to make sure that it made sense. Like
Right.
it sounded like that was something that was really important to them, and
Also fun too.
yeah,
Right.
Which is a good balance that we comment on frequently about how if a movie is too much into the science realm or like they care too much about like making sense, like just like set it up so that it makes sense logically. When you're watching it, you don't think, wait, why did that make sense? But
Right.
then also make it fun.
yeah, and I like that they said they made it for their 13-year-old selves, not their present selves. And I think that you can definitely see that in the movie.
There's so much love in it. There's so much detail. And it really was, and I will say this. I can say this now because we've already done an interview and stuff. I was very nervous when I got an email and you were talking to me, Jen, about like, hey, this indie film wants us to review their film. And I thought, one's was bad. Because we've had to see a lot of indie
We've
films.
definitely seen more bad time travel movies, especially indies, than good ones.
Right. And you're just like, I didn't want, to have to do an interview with somebody and then lie to them and be like, oh yeah, it was cool. It was a good movie, and then go to my review and then be like, yeah, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, but we didn't have to. We enjoyed it.
It was so great.
It was well done.
As soon as the movie was done, I was like, I really enjoyed that. I would see it again. I thought it was really fun.
I love when movies in general just go for it. Like, the reason why I like the Star Wars episode 7, right?
Which one?
The Last Jedi.
Oh, Last Jedi, yeah.
Because they win for it. They made choices and they win for it, And so this movie, at the end, they win for it. They really
Yeah, and it sounds like they told the story they wanted to tell, which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, there's definitely, there was some fun time travel there. They had this cool, time wall that was damp, and you can kind of see the effect. The special effects of the movie we were all pretty impressed. It was cool to see that. The sound design, I think you said, was
the sound design. I really enjoyed this. I know that sounds strange to say, but that really can make or break your film, and they clearly spend time on it.
And also, they're in a cave, so in the interview you heard, but they had a lot of challenges filming in a cave.
Oh yeah,
almost exclusively.
Yeah,
most of the movie is filmed in the cave,
right.
So lighting and sound and all that stuff.
The cave stuff was so cool. I even noticed in the lighting just how interesting they could make shapes and shadows with lighting within a cave. But I'm sure it was also a challenge, as they said. Oh. But some of my favorite parts were when they actually left the cave and they kind of saw how much time had progressed outside of it. I thought it was really cool, and I'm glad they had stuff like that in there.
Well, it's a cool moment because you see that it's something that we actually don't always get to see, and particularly in movies like this, you don't really get to see even Time Machine doesn't really.
Yeah, the movie didn't really. The book he does. He goes way in the future, but in the movie he doesn't really see Earth destroyed. It's like a post-apocalyptic. But it's not uninhabitable.
Maybe Doctor Who is probably the best kind of comparison for someone who actually sees that. But you're right.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, but it's the scene. I like the scene where he's looking up and he sees the kind of the stars and everything move. It very much reminded me of a better version of what they tried to do in Timeline, where they said, well, he looked at a picture of the Earth, and then he saw...
and you saw them kind of move,
right,
but it wasn't super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I loved how they did that. And just even the lighting, not to go back to the lighting, but the lighting when days were passing and we would just see a shadow of light flickering on and off, on the mouth of the cave, so to speak, just that kind of subtle detail in the background, I thought it added to it. And I think we mentioned this in the interview, but we didn't really see any plot holes. Time travel.
Yeah.
So.
It's great to go in one direction, and they actually had a good reason to go in that one direction. Because you need to make sure you have a good story, and it's about these people, and even though we're only going forward, there's still stuff going on because there's people from the past who have now gone to their present day, and so there's a lot of combining of these different time periods while still going in one direction, which I think is a good kind of use of that type of time travel.
Yeah, and we also loved that they had equal female leads to male leads.
Yeah,
it was really really refreshing.
Yeah, we didn't bring that up in the interview, but that's a good point.
Yeah, we meant to mention that to them, but hopefully they're listening to this because we really did appreciate multiple female leads, not just one
token girl.
One girl.
She's a girl. She's cool.
Yeah, and one that can rock climb like a pro.
Yeah, they were and all three of them were badass in their own ways. It was cool. They were all brave in different scenes, and so that was cool. And yeah, I think it should be a series. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Down.
We are down to see more of this world.
We're down to be time travel consultants if you need. If it does get made. Cool. So yeah, again, thank you for letting us, help to share time traps story, and share the time travel with us, and hopefully our fans and our listeners will check it out because it was a cool movie and is worth seeing. All right, so finale, here we are.
Yes,
Woo!
our
I can't even believe
final
it.
thoughts.
Finale, final. Final, finale, finito.
Finally.
Finito.
Finito.
Benito.
Finally, finale.
Olive Garden.
When you're here, you're a time travel family.
Oh. I am going to miss... I mean, it's like I'm not going to see you
I'm
again.
gonna miss
But
it.
I'm going to miss doing this with you guys.
It's gonna be strange to not record these.
Right, we're just going to like hang out now as like people.
What do we do?
And
I don't know.
watch movies
What
and
do we
talk
talk
about
about?
them without...
Without recording it for
Yeah.
people to listen.
Literally for the
Crazy.
last 3 years, it's been guaranteed that pretty much every week I have watched at least
Mostly.
one thing about time travel.
Yeah.
So now I can watch whatever I want.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
And I'm sure I'm going to still see some time travel stuff because, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I feel like there's some movies that, like, oh, yeah, that one's still there, but, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we have a few different kind of categories that we are going to go over in a retrospective.
Little segments.
Yeah, so we'll kind of go one by one, and we'll start with movies that we were too soft on. Movies and or TV shows, sorry. I should clarify. Although most of mine, if not all of them, are movies.
Yeah.
Just because we didn't do that many TV shows, and the TV shows we did, for the most part, were ones we liked.
Yeah,
We didn't
and also
get
near
into
the end.
stuff like Brown Hair Girls.
Oh,
Time to
yeah.
Time with the, anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not Highlander, is it?
No, it's called, it's like Timeless.
Timeless.
Oh,
There
yeah,
it is.
Timeless, which is having its movie series finale in December.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like stuff like that. Like we didn't,
Abigail Spencer.
we only, yes, thank you. We only did TV shows that we like. So like most of,
Or at least one of
Yeah.
us have seen all the way through, you know.
yeah, so for the most part, it's just, it's going to be
It's
movies.
it's our personal
Yeah.
preferences. Obviously, that's what a podcast is.
Yeah, so, all right, too soft. Matt, why don't you start this one?
Yeah, stuff I was too soft on. I was surprised to see that I gave Star Trek the reboot a 9 out of 10 for the time travel.
Wow.
I was like, what? Like my reasonings were I had valid points for it. I was like, oh, they didn't really do too much with it, and so they didn't really mess with a bunch. But the fact that they didn't do too much with it means I shouldn't have given it any more than a 7.5 or an 8. Even though I liked it.
Yeah, it
like-
really was just a platform to get from A to B.
Yeah.
For the
W-
most part.
And so I think I was too soft on it for that reason. I was like, oh yeah, it was a good way to reboot the franchise that I gave it way too high. I think for me, I started off kind of near the top, and I would dock points early on in the podcast, like
Yeah.
for things I didn't like. But now I started at 5, and if I like it, it goes up higher.
Yeah.
So now the limit for Star
Okay.
Trek would be lower
So
because I
what-
would start at 5, and I would give points for things I like. So it ended up around an 8 now. I made 7.5, 8.
So what else is on your list? Is that the only one?
For too soft, I think that's Edge of Tomorrow. I give a 4, which is. Oh wait, no, that's the opposite way.
It's too hard.
Yeah, too hard. Okay, then I think. Oh yeah, Time Machine. I gave it a 7.5, which I thought
Really?
was really too high.
Yeah. that's
Because it
pretty
was just like like at the beginning he kind of did some stuff, but they kind of just I don't know. They kind of butchered it, but. So I'll probably give it a 5 now instead of 7.5.
Okay.
Because I think I gave it too many points for the machine and liking the book too much. But now it's like, okay, they did some things that are good, they did some things that were bad, and they kind of didn't really do enough with it. So I probably settle on a 5 now. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go next. So I have a few. Time Traveler's Wife is one that I was way too soft on. I give it an 8 out of 10 for the movie, and that is just very
It
generous.
was very early. That was
A lot
like
of-
episode number 7.
A lot of the early ones we did, we were pretty loosey-goosey on. And I was kind of saying when I was going back through some of our old episodes that I wish we would have done some of these B movies early on and kind of waited until we had a better footing of how to do this, to do some of these bigger movies, because I think we kind of would have done, not that we did a bad job, but I think we would have done a stronger job of covering them, especially something like Time Traveler's Wife, which is one of our most listened to. That's
Listen
Yeah.
to.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a verb.
Episode, okay. Tude. You got some tude, man. Okay. People listen to that episode a lot. How about that?
Yeah.
And for me, that is our weakest episode that we've ever done of any of the ones that we've done. I can't listen to that episode because I just think it was just how we went about it was really sloppy. And after that, we kind of reformatted our format and kind of didn't talk through the plot synopsis of the entire movie as much. And so I think some of the movies we did around that time, like the first 10 or so, I'd say, were a little weak. So anyway, that one I gave a pretty high rating to. I also am putting Source Code on there that I was too soft on. I liked Source Code, but I gave it an 8 out of 10, which I think is a little high. I probably would have given it something closer to 6.5 or 7. It is a good movie, and it's one of those that I recommend to people because I think most people haven't seen it, but that was, I felt, was a little too generous.
Yeah.
Men in Black 3, while I love it, also an 8. Felt a little high. I mean...
For the movie or time travel?
For the movie.
Oh, okay.
For the enjoyment of the movie, it was great, but I don't think it should be that high. And my last one was Time Bandits, which I gave a 6 out of 10, which actually is kind of generous because I did not like that movie at all. So, sorry. So those are the ones I was too soft on. We all know I was pretty harsh on a lot of movies, so there you go. Redemption for some.
The hammer dropped. So movies that I think I was too soft on, actually it's one of our early films and one that is one of my lowest rated ones, Project Almanac. I gave it a 3. And I listened back to why I did it, and I said, some of the characters were interesting, and the concept was interesting, but it just wasn't well executed and too much focus on like teenage drama. But the more I think about it, and I rewatched a couple clips from Project Almanac, and I was like, actually this movie is worse than I remember because, there is a lot of fun. We make fun of it a lot, but I also gave Displacement a 3. And, and I know you think, well, shouldn't you be happy you give something to Project Almanac? No. Displacement had like a shoestring budget. They had like 4 locations they were allowed to shoot in, and that was it.
Yeah.
Project Almanac had a real budget. It had a very interesting concept, and it completely squanders it. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this could have been a cool movie, but it's so poorly handled. And this whole capture cam footage thing is just so tired. Even back then.
It's also like a lot of music videos pretty much in the movie.
Right. It's just a long commercial for like bands. Like they go to Lollapalooza and like get on stage of a band. I'm like, what? So I had to drop it down from a 3 to a 2 because I just felt like I was too soft and I think I was a little too lenient with it.
Well, it's interesting because we gave it 2s.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I was a little more like, well, I should be a little different from the crowd. Maybe I'll be a little more generous. And I was like, you know what? No, that movie does not deserve that much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was a little too soft on that movie. The movie, yeah. There's some honorable mentions of movies I think I was a little too soft on. Like what? Looking back on, I think I was a little soft on Looper because I was, I really liked the first 2 acts, but I'm starting to realize after seeing Last Jedi that maybe Rian Johnson just really has a problem with third acts and scripts. And I was being a little too generous to him. So, yeah.
If the shoe fits. All right. So now we'll do ones that we were a little too harsh on. And, Matt, why don't you start?
Yeah, I don't have a ton that I found. The one that really stuck out to me was Edge of Tomorrow. I gave it a 4, and I think that deserves a 5 because I know I had some issues with how they reset the whole universe, But the more I thought about it, the more I kind of look at it more like X-Men Days of Future Past, where it's just his mind being sent back. And I probably did mention that too in my assessment of the time travel, but that's less egregious to me now. Because I remember harping on how does the whole universe reset and all that stuff? And I'm like, well, no, it just kind of, his mind gets sent back to his younger body. I don't know. But yeah, I think 4 was too low for that movie because I do enjoy that movie a lot, and I still kind of regard it as a good movie. So so by the way, I'm doing my time travel rating. I think you guys did movie rating.
I did movie rating.
That's
I did movie rating.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah,
That's okay.
yeah. But so for me, I was looking more at how I judge the time travel.
Well, you probably did it better than we did. So
No,
for
it's
you.
fine. No, so I think for me, Edge of Tomorrow really stuck out to me. I think that was the biggest one that I kind of really
Okay.
sought after.
So, as I'm sure you could probably guess, I had to really go through and eliminate a lot of them so that I didn't have too many and the ones that I was too harsh on.
A harshest critic.
But on the same side of that, I also was like, it wasn't hard for me to eliminate some because a lot of them, rightfully so, I was harsh on. So, anyway, that being said, you'll be surprised, probably because you just mentioned this, but I actually had Project Almanac on one that I was too harsh on, which I gave it a 2. I think, I just say that because the whole thing of starting the podcast was because of that movie,
Right.
Yeah,
because
that's
of how
true.
much I hated it. And so I just felt comparatively, kind of in retrospect, after not seeing it for 3 years, which, thank God, best 3 years of my life. But it did some things that were interesting. I do agree with the stuff you were saying. It's basically a giant music video. It's messy and, whatever, blown out of whatever, but Prius.
Yeah.
But it's not about his charm.
Yeah, and I think it's not, at least for me, I don't think it's as bad now that I've been away from it for enough period of time, because at that point, I had seen Project Almanac in theaters, and then, probably a month later, we watched it.
Right.
And so that's a lot of Project Almanac, and so no
Yeah.
wonder I hated it. But now, just stepping away, I don't think I would have given it a 2. Maybe a 3, 3.5. Not that much higher, but anyway.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
it's
one-
it's definitely more on it's closer to a Sound of Thunder in terms of quality, where it's
Right.
more. I don't know. I wouldn't say enjoyable to watch, but I don't know. There's some merit to kind of hate watching it, I guess, as opposed to some Displacement where it's ugh, just exhausting.
My other one that I was too harsh on was Sound of Thunder, as you mentioned. I gave that movie a 2 out of 10, which it was really funny because if you listen to our overall reviews at the end of that episode, we're talking about how much we hate this movie, and I'm like, I never want to see it again, and Matt's like, I never want to watch this movie again for the rest of my life. And meanwhile, since then, we've bought it on DVD. We're already planning a movie night for our friends to see it.
Yeah.
That movie, I think across the board for all of us, maybe kind of should be one that we were probably a little too harsh on.
For sure.
Because it's our favorite bad movie. Yes, it is a bad movie. I don't want to deny that part of it,
Right.
but
It's such a fun bad
it's
movie.
really fun, and we had such a good
There are
time
gorilla
watching
raptors.
it. And that's a movie get drunk and watch it with your friends.
Yes.
If you're old enough to drink, get drunk and watch it with your friends, and don't drive. And it's a ball. You will have a blast, and you'll laugh, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And another one that I think we were a little harsh, or at least I was a little harsh on, that was also fun, was Time at the Top. That was a fun movie, and even at the end of that, we said we had a really fun time. So,
Yeah, it was a fun conversation.
so that was another one of my too harsh.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's a good list.
Yeah. Did you have any others that you wanted to
Oh,
go
yes. So I felt I was a little too harsh. A lot of the ones we did were early on. This was exactly smack dab in the middle of our experience, and that is Frequency.
through?
As a movie, I think I was too hard. I stick with my time travel grade, which I think was about a 3. But I think it was a little too harsh on it. Because, yes, there's problems. Yes, the movie kind of loses its heart by focusing more on the serial killer than the relationship between father and son.
Mm-hmm.
That's clearly some studio interference where they needed something a little bit more exciting than just a human drama with time travel trappings. That being said, Frequency has really good actors in it, with Jim Caviezel, Dennis Quaid, Andre Bauer, and there is something very nice. I keep running into people online who that's one of their favorite movies. That's one of those movies that they just really, really enjoy.
I think part of that is nostalgia, but
Yeah.
people do love the dynamic, I think.
Yes. I mean, you have to get past that ridiculous throw the helmet,
Oh my God.
slide down before the
Oh
helmet
my God, I
hits the
forgot
ground,
about that.
breaking. I mean, just we literally time
That's
travel,
so-
and that is the biggest break of the rules of physics
Yeah.
in the entire film.
It's hilarious.
But I gave that movie a 5, and I'm going to bump it up to a 6.
Nice.
That's good.
I think there is more to like about it than there is to dislike, and I think I kind of chose a more passive, review on it, but I'm going to lean over to the other side on it.
Yeah.
I gave Frequency a 4.
Yeah, oh, wow.
That was pretty harsh.
I mean, you know.
But hey, that's me.
There you go.
I'm a harsh guy.
But
Mr. Harsh, they call me.
I also think it's not that I was too harsh on it, but an honorable mention, I think that deserves more credit now is The Kid with Bruce Willis.
Okay.
I started thinking about the movie because Audrey Wells, the screenwriter of it, who also just recently wrote The Hate You Give, she just passed away suddenly of cancer.
Oh, no.
And I was rewatching a couple scenes from The Kid, and in particular the scene where the young version of Bruce Willis is being chastised by the older version of his father, and he's seeing where his life started to fall apart, and he became the person that he is. And it's a very well done scene. It's very impactful, and the movie itself is very sweet. And we don't get a lot of sweet time travel movies. Like, there's no violence. There's no, we have to save the world. It's a very personal problem. It's kind of like the reverse of Frequency. It's like kind of what I wish Frequency had done.
Yeah.
This was...
That's nice.
By the way, Bruce Willis has been in 3 time travel movies where he interacts with a younger version of himself, both in Looper, 12 Monkeys, and The Kid.
That's very specific. I love Bruce Willis. He's great. Well, that's a good list. Yeah.
Okay.
So, we're very excited about this. I had a light bulb moment, and as I'm sure if you're a diehard fan of our show, you will recognize this clip.
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
So, that's our favorite clip, and we wish we could have come across it sooner because, boy, it would have been relevant earlier. And so because of that, because we didn't get to play it for
more than
60% of our show, we decided it would be important to make a list of our top 10 time travel assholes.
Woo!
Woo!
Yes.
So after every single one, we're going to play that clip. Just heads up. We do have some honorable mentions. And so for the top 10, we have little clips that we're going to play of some asshole moments, just to kind of give you a frame of reference. But the honorable mentions are ones that, we don't have clips for, but they could have easily made the list.
Right.
Yes.
So, and we all agreed, we were on a long car trip from LA to San Diego, so all three of us agreed and went through this, and it was, we all agreed together, so it was a good list. So, obviously, we'll start with Synchronicity, which is where the clip came from.
Yes, Jim from Synchronicity.
Jim from Synchronicity. Obviously, someone literally says that about him, so...
Yeah.
That's that.
He is the titular asshole of time travel.
Yes,
as we made him from the clip.
And he really is. If you've seen that movie, it's pretty accurate. So, as you mentioned, Looper, we have Old Joe, which is Bruce Willis's character. He's a dick. He's
all-around asshole.
Kills a kid.
I definitely lobbied for him to be in our top 10 for a little bit because he's a child killer.
Right.
And future child killer too. There's children that he doesn't kill, but he wants to. So he's just not a good guy. I get it, you love your wife, but all in all, time travel made you an asshole. So Barry Allen from the Flash TV show.
That's a fun one, just because you know what.
He
tries really hard.
Right.
But sometimes he's just selfish, especially with his whole mom stuff and the Flashpoint little story arc.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That was purely selfish from him. And he killed Cisco's brother because of it.
Right.
Yes.
And even if he's not an asshole, I think we were talking about this, it's at least a dick move.
Yes.
It is, yeah. Which
is
why he's
an
very
honorable
close
mention. To assholes.
Yeah, but he also knows it too. He really tries to make up for it.
Yeah, he does try and better himself from it, which you can't say for all the people on this list, that's for sure. And then our last honorable mention, of course, 'tis the season, but it is also accurate any time of the year. Cal from Halloween Town 2,
the
Disney Channel movie. He's definitely an asshole.
Yeah, we had to show love. We had to show love to Halloween Town.
Which that episode we did with the lovely Mallory from What's Up Movie Surfers podcast.
Yeah, shout out to Mal. Hello.
Yeah, love her.
Love you. Love her tweets.
She's you are definitely.
Awesome.
I'm talking to you, Mal, directly because I think you become one of our actual friends that we met through the podcast, and I think that's notable because
I literally am friends with her through the internet.
Yeah,
which
and
our parents told us not to do, but she and I are like really good friends now. So
it's just
fine.
and
We've just never met in person. It's okay.
Yeah, and I feel like we want to
Okay.
give you a shout out in the finale because we really did become a friend with
girl.
you over the podcast and our kind of sister podcast of connection with all the because we did like two or three Disney
we did.
movies.
We did
Zetas
two.
Lapidus.
We did just two Disney Channel movies.
Right.
We also did Minutemen with Zach Heltzel
Yes.
from Zetas La Podcast, who's also awesome.
Yeah, really
And
cool guy.
so much love to the DCOM
Yes.
podcasting fam. Okay, so now we'll get into the top 10. So we'll start with number 10. We'll go down to 1. All right, so we'll just go kind of round robin and announce them. So why don't you start?
Yeah, so top 10, we're going to single out one character in particular, but this kind of is a group of people, and they are people that are stuck in time loops. And we're going to single out Phil from Groundhog Day, played by Bill Murray, because he is the Groundhog Day character. He is the time loop character that kind of he's the best example of this.
Mm-hmm.
But it also extends to, we did a whole time loop episode, and so, all of them in the same situation, they're in this group.
Yeah, they're all they repeat their days because they're not great people.
Right.
Kind of is kind of the big plot.
Yeah,
But,
and also they have a period where they have like a day where they just do the worst thing they can because they have no consequences.
Yeah.
I'm sorry? What was that again?
I'm a god.
You're God.
I'm a god. I'm not the god. I don't think.
Because you survived a car wreck?
You folks ready to order?
I didn't just survive a wreck. I wasn't just blown up yesterday. I have been stabbed, shot, poisoned, frozen, hung, electrocuted, and burned.
Oh, really?
And every morning I wake up without a scratch on me, not a dent in the fender. I am an immortal.
Special today is blueberry waffles.
Why are you telling me this?
Because I want you to believe in me.
You're not a god. You can take my word for it. This is 12 years of Catholic school talking.
I could come back if you're not ready.
So I love her. Annie McDowell is so great in that movie.
Yeah.
She really.
It's just a great movie.
That is a great movie. Okay, so number 9. Very appropriate for me to announce this one. That was all just coincidence, but number 9 is... Oh, wait. Sorry.
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
Thank you.
And then it didn't, because he learned his lesson.
Thanks to Andy McDowell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so number 9 is the whole cast of Project Almanac. Yay!
Yay.
Congratulations, you made our list. So, oh man, they do a lot of asshole, selfish things really throughout the movie. But this clip that we were able to find, which I'm glad it's on YouTube, but I'm glad because this was like, I think we all kind of agree this was the biggest moment that...
The funniest part of the movie, to me at least.
It was the funniest part of the movie, but it was also like a big asshole moment for them. So
Right.
like, basically what's going on is one of the girls in their group, it's been a while since I've seen this movie, as I mentioned, the guy's sister is bullied by this girl, and so they go back in time to like re-bully the bully. And so that's this clip.
Experiment 14, payback time.
God, Christina, rock much?
You got this, Chris.
Come on, Chris, you got this. I got this. I got this. But you were just...
I'm everywhere, bitch.
It's a great moment, but it's also like, dude, you literally used time travel just to throw soda on a bully in high school. Like, get over yourself.
I just love the I'm everywhere bitch. That's just such a great...
For sure. But,
I'm surprised I'm everywhere bitch not become an audio clip we use in more places.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm everywhere bitch.
Yeah, that would have been good too. So, to the cast of Project Almanac,
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
there you go. Okay, number 8.
Number 8 is Michael, played by Adam Sandler in the movie Click. It's almost like it's a Wonderful Life with time travel, essentially.
Yeah.
And if those of you not familiar with it, Adam Sandler gets a remote from Christopher Walken in Bed Bath & Beyond that is a universal remote. And it is truly a universally cosmic remote. Please make sure Neil deGrasse Tyson never gets this remote.
Yeah.
And basically...
Or if anything, he should be the one that actually operates it.
Yeah.
It's true. Now that Prince and David Bowie are gone, maybe it's Neil deGrasse Tyson has to be the next Time Lord. We don't know.
Ted Dancing could be a time protector. Anyway.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
But anyway, Michael from...
I know, that's what made me think
Michael from Click is pretty insufferable until the end. And so we have this little clip of him being, an asshole.
So, Michael, I had a wonderful idea. Your mother's playing canasta with her friends tonight. I thought, oh, what a great opportunity. You, me, and Ben should go and have a boys' night out.
Can't.
What do you mean you can't? You have to eat sometime. We could whistle at pretty girls.
I'm down for that.
See, he's down. I don't know what it means, but he's down.
Hey, please.
Don't give me that finger. I'll make you a deal. If you come, I'll show you the quarter trick.
Will you look at the man?
I'll tell you the secret.
No, Dad.
Don't you want to know
How you do the stupid trick? I've always known. Can you let me do my work?
You've always known. You're pathetic. I'm so sorry I barged in. I love you, son.
Man, that's like hard to watch, honestly. That's a rough one.
I had clip. Yeah, I made another clip where he's being an asshole to his kids, but that's not because of time travel. That's just because he's naturally a dick. But that one, I'm just like, that's the last time he saw his dad, and just like, God, that's just
It is somewhat redeemed a little bit by the fact that he's watching it and knows he's being an asshole.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing?
Right.
So like, when it gets to this movie, I can't watch this movie. It's too sad.
Yeah.
Like, when it gets to the end, when he's like dying and whatever, and he like regrets everything of his life and what he's done and all these things that he's missed, and he's, oh my God, it makes me cry.
Well, it's also like the reason why I chose that clip is because that was him in autopilot. So literally, the time travel made him an asshole.
Yes, thank you.
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
There you go.
There you go.
It did though. It
really
made him more of an asshole than he was.
He had problems before the time travel, but the time travel turned him from like a lovable father who made choices and was a little sad in his life to like a straight up dick.
Just no time for anything but work. The next is one that it's actually working out this round robin because this is one that I just so it's the movie Slipstream, and it's Sean Astin who plays the character Stuart.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
Of course his name is Stuart in this movie. He couldn't have just been like a Ben or like a. I was gonna say Sam, but
yeah, Sam, Samwise.
But like he could have been a normal name.
But yeah, Stuart. And in this movie, he has this little PDA that makes him, go through time, whatever. But the first thing he does with it is go to the bank to get more money, and he also just be's a huge creepy asshole to the bank teller.
This movie is terrible, just all around.
I want to get to know you as a person. I want to have a deep and meaningful conversation with you. Every time I get the opportunity, I can't help but fixate on your perfect skin, your cornflower eyes, your scent. God, Maggie, it's like you just stepped out of the bath. I hope you're taking this as a compliment. You're just so ripe. You're like a piece of fruit. I can't stand it. I just want to eat you. Is something wrong?
Why can't you leave me alone?
Just a huge creep.
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
Although I think he was an asshole without
That's
time
true.
travel.
But he uses the time travel
creep.
to like say this like nasty stuff to this woman and then reverse time so she doesn't remember he said it to her.
Ew, that is like the creepiest of the creepy. All right. Number 6. Yeah, this is kind of working out how this is going. Because I don't have to do the one after number 6. Number 6 is Time Lapse, the whole cast. Oh, this movie. So, I have mixed feelings about this movie because
the premise
is such a good idea and it's so interesting for like parts of it. And then it just falls apart with
Yeah.
the whole betting thing and the racing and the
But it's
dog
also,
bets or whatever it is.
But it also goes against it too because the concept isn't theirs. The concept is a time travel, a Twilight Zone concept
Right.
that they squandered. So if
Yeah.
anything, it goes more against them that they failed on this premise.
I know, but like it's just so it's such a bummer for me that this movie just ended up the way it did. I wish it didn't, but here you go.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna do what we should have done from the start, and I'm gonna destroy that fucking machine.
Stop, please, stop. You said we can change things, right? Then all I have to do is put a new note in the window for tonight's picture. Then, when I get the message last night, I'll know to prevent you from catching me at the window just now. You'll never find the photos. We'll never have had this conversation. If you destroy the machine, I can't fix this.
Oh man, I can't believe she actually shoots him.
Right.
Like, it's still surprising. Her character, I will give her this. She does a really good job
I like
in this movie.
I like her character a lot in that movie though.
Yeah, no, Danielle Pennebaker does a good job. That's one of those. That's a very interesting episode. I definitely encourage people to listen to that episode because it's one of those movies that's frustrating.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that work and could have worked, and so many things that doesn't. They had freaking Gimli in that movie and cut him out of scenes.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Like the whole dog racing subplot was just so dumb.
If that was out of it and it was like shorter, I think it would have been so good.
Yeah, but also the guy that she shot, he used time travel to steal his own paintings, which is also kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, oh, I have painter's block. I need to see what I do just so I can paint a thing. It's just dumb. Anyways, yeah.
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
Yeah.
All of them. All of those guys.
All of them, but especially her.
I think this is the first woman to make the list. I mean, women don't time travel, as we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
So she's the first woman on our list. All right. Mine is the entire cast of Hot Tub Time Machine. This is a world in the 80s where no one is a good person, and everyone is just a complete dick.
Yeah.
And, or bitch, I suppose. I mean, they're all horrible.
Yeah, they
are. This is my clip. I'm actually glad I'm doing this one because this is actually a movie that I really enjoy as a guilty pleasure.
You liked it the most out of us.
But I am like, these guys are terrible. They're complete assholes, and I think this clip will sum it up quite nicely.
I forgot that it says in the asshole handbook that you can just fuck over your friends whenever you want.
Actually, it would say that in the asshole handbook if it was like guidelines for being an asshole. That's probably what it would say.
Why wouldn't it say that in the asshole handbook?
Dude, it would say to fuck your friend.
No.
I read a book.
Okay, no, you're right. I'm sorry, my bad. You guys are right. But if you're changing the fucking past, okay, then I'm changing the fucking past. All right? I fucking suck.
No, Lou.
Okay, we're in the game. I like this.
I didn't change anything yet. I just didn't do it.
And if we're changing shit, you better be there at midnight to get my fucking back.
Done.
I'll be there.
No, guys, come on, man, talk to me about this.
I hate this movie so much. Oh my God. Wait.
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
There you go.
Yeah, I kind of like stumbled on that clip. Almost the first thing I found, because I kind of skipped the movie and I was like, oh, they're talking about being assholes. That's like perfect. And then they're yelling at each other.
That is a good example, yeah.
Also named Stu.
Yes, that's true.
Stewart.
Yeah, I mean, like Rob Corddry is definitely the biggest asshole in the movie because his character like changes all of time by like being he stays in the past and just fucks everything up. So
Yeah.
biggest asshole in the movie for sure.
All right, number 4.
Yeah, this is really appropriate. This is the movie Interstellar, and Matt Damon's character, man, because he just fucks everyone over just because.
He's really an asshole.
Yeah. So
literally, time travel made him an asshole. Like he's the epitome of this.
Yeah, relativity made him an asshole.
It's funny. When I left Earth, I thought I was prepared to die. The truth is, I never really considered the possibility that my planet wasn't the one. Nothing worked out the way it was supposed to. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
he's.
I mean, granted, he probably had a touch of the space crazies, but Yeah, he really was
still an
just
asshole though. He's
yeah,
still like
blew
trying
up.
to kill Matthew McConaughey,
Yeah.
and like this planet is not livable, but I'm going to tell you it is, so that you stay here and I can escape.
Yeah, like and then he turned his little walkie bot into a bomb.
Yeah.
And I think
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he killed someone else in the explosion, but yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
right.
God.
He kills the other scientist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With the fake,
Oh, man.
right as he discovers the fake readings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we switch? Can you do number 3 and I do number 2?
Fine. No, I'm just joking. I don't really care. So number 3, actually, this is a really good one for me to do. Is Domhnall Gleeson, everyone's favorite garden tender, and and right hand man to crybaby Kylo Ren.
And for some reason, what's her face felt that he should still exist in Black Mirror.
Oh, I guess Haley Atwell. I mean,
God.
Haley Atwell was like, literally Haley Atwell was like, I'm not hating on Domhnall Gleeson. He was very charming in an episode, but literally Haley Atwell was like, I can get whatever dick I want.
Yeah.
And I want Domhnall Gleeson's dick again.
I want that ginger
so
dick.
lame. Anyway.
It's
Not
like,
my
what about
Black
Chris
Mirror.
Evans? No. Give me General Hux.
I've had Chris Evans. And I want that.
Gross.
Domhnall
Please
Gleeson.
stop. Please stop. All right, we're playing the clip. This is from About Time.
This is about time.
This is a movie that everyone loves that we don't like.
Yeah.
It's my mother's name, but let's not get into that. So I know this is forward, but your face tells me that you're finding this party to be a living hell. So I just wondered if you might come and have a bite to eat with me instead. Right now.
I'm sorry?
Okay, obviously I should have thought this through more. Let's talk about Kate Moss.
I love Kate Moss.
I always think the key thing with her is the history. You know?
Yes.
The informality of her early shots compared to high fashion stuff. So you always know that underneath, she's still just the same cheeky, normal girl, naked on the beach.
Peach. I agree with you completely.
If we leave now, then we can have, more than one starter.
Oh.
I love your eyes. And I love the rest of your face, too.
Ew, why do people like this movie?
Yeah, I mean,
he's so gross.
So I actually
don't go with him.
I actually listed out all the reasons why he's an asshole in this movie.
Oh, thank God.
So
Thank you.
so
Matt, please.
in that clip, he uses time travel to basically reboot their relationship because they met in a really nice scene where they were like it's like a blind date where it's all in the dark, and they really hit it off and it was great. But then he went back in time and like did something else to help a friend, and he erased that date. So he had to go to a party and then use the knowledge he already had to get back with her. So he just so basically going forward, the relationship was built on a lie. Because he doesn't care about Kate Moss. He knows that she does. So
he's literally spouting things that she has said to him.
Exactly. And so that's a huge
It's not
asshole
charming.
move. Yeah, so
sorry,
great.
people who like this movie. This is not a charming movie.
Yeah.
He's a creep.
Yeah, so that's the way they go forward in their relationship. It's like, what the hell, man? And then second,
That is my hill that I will die on.
Yeah, he seduced Margot Robbie's character while he was
God, no.
while he was with Rachel McAdams, just to
God.
prove that he can get with her, and then turned her down, and then went to go home and then proposed to Rachel McAdams that night.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that whole subplot.
Night.
We also had a big problem with the fact that he never tells Rachel McAdams about
Yeah,
his
that's my
time
next
traveling.
point. Never tells Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
And then at one point he went back before his kid was born, I think, and that messed with the sperm, which made his kid's gender change.
My God.
And then he takes his sister along, and that fucks her life. She gets in like a car accident or whatever, so he just screws
He
her
time
over.
travels with his sister?
Yeah, they go together at some point.
Oh,
which
man.
proves that he can take other people, so why not take Rachel McAdams?
He's
Whatever.
so selfish.
So that's it.
The
Those are
entire movie. Anyway,
my big
thank
bullet
you.
points.
Oh, thank you, Matt.
Thank you for doing that.
Oh, I don't know if we played the
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
Yes.
Wow.
100%.
Yes, it
yeah,
did.
he is definitely worthy of the number 3 mantle, the top 3 mantle of assholes.
Yeah, he definitely is. All right, so number 2, I'm honored to be able to talk about this one. You all know it's coming. Number 2 is Aaron from Primer.
Yes, Shane Carruth, the writer / director of the movie, also
/ the biggest self-dick sucker that exists on the fucking planet.
Self-dick sucker.
If I ever see him, I will say, stop sucking your own dick and think about other people. and walk away.
I
Is
hope it's-
exactly what
I
he's
hope
saying.
it's in a public place, like in a cafe, and I hope Matt is with you, and you just run up to Shane and just say that, and then shift back into the crowd, never to be seen again.
And then I'll probably stick around and be like, hey, by the way, I kind of did like the movie.
Oh my god. That's the dream. Okay, so this movie, if you're a fan of our podcast, I'm sure you've heard us talk about this more than once. So
Yeah.
I won't get into it too much. But basically, he's a selfish asshole.
Yeah, they use time travel to get money, basically, and they end up drugging themselves and knocking themselves out in the past and taking over their lives for a few days just so they can use time travel to craft the perfect day, pretty much. But I don't know.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to find a clip for this one because they mostly just talk about stuff, but this is like the last Aaron in the timeline that kind of explains what he's doing. So I don't know, it's kind of a boring clip, but it explains what he's doing that made him an asshole, I guess.
Okay.
How? Abe would ask. And Aaron would describe how simple things become. When you know precisely what someone will have for breakfast, even in a world of tamper-proof lids. How? And that's where I would have entered the story. Or exited, depending on your reference. Because when Aaron came back the second time, it wasn't so easy. He wasn't expecting me to put up a fight, and by that time he was too exhausted to take me. But for reasons that are only evident to me now, I understood that he simply wanted it more, that he just had more invested. So I left. He had already performed the task, as I had intended to, of recording the conversations of the day just in case.
So I can't even listen to that.
Yeah, it's
honestly,
hard.
it's like cringeworthy for me. I just the words that he says and the way that he says them are so obnoxious to me. Of just it is actually, I think, a good clip to pull because it's a good example of how it's about him. It's all about me.
And
it's
it's so
about what
blasé.
Aaron wants. Like he is Aaron. He's talking about a different Aaron, but he is Aaron, and that just drives me crazy. It's like that's what Aaron wants to do.
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
I need to play it twice just because it's relevant twice.
Time travel made that guy a real asshole.
In his character in the movie and also in real life.
God, yes. Ugh. Okay, so number 1, we should all announce together.
Yeah, that's a good.
The ultimate time travel.
Yes.
Drum roll with us. Thank you. Is from
Back to the Future
to
Biff.
Okay, well, I didn't say it, but
I'm sorry, I messed it up somehow.
It's fine.
But yes, it is Biff. And Jen, you found this clip online.
I found
It's a
someone
supercut.
made a cuts of all of Biff's best lines. It's like 2 minutes, but it's totally worth it. It's really funny, and so here we go.
But what are you, blind, McFly? Are you deaf, McFly? What are you, deaf, old man? Don't be so gullible, McFly. Don't be so gullible, McFly. What kind of stupid name is that?
Must be rough being named after a complete butthead.
So what's it to you, butthead?
Just get in the car, butthead.
What are you looking at, butthead? What are you looking at, butthead?
He's a butthead just like his old man was. Hey, butthead! Who you calling butthead, butthead?
McFly, your shoes untied.
Your shoes unbelt!
Oh, McFly, your shoes untied. Well, looky what we have here.
Looky what we have here. Your old man, Mr. Loser.
All right, punk.
All right, punk!
Loser with a capital L.
Especially with that dog ugly head.
You caused $300 damage to my car, you son of a bitch.
You're supposed to be in Switzerland, you little son of a bitch!
I'm gonna get that son of a bitch.
You're dead, you little son of a bitch! You chicken? Oh, what's wrong, dude? You yellow? What's wrong, McFly? Chicken? Hey, McFly! Hey, McFly! Hey, McFly! Hey, McFly!
I thought I told you never to come in here.
Thought I done told you never to come in. I thought I told you to stay in here. And all the money in the world wouldn't do jack shit for that lazy bum. You gutless yellow pie slinger. Idiot. Yellow belly. You damn fool. Duded up, egg-sucking gutter trash.
I'm gonna take it out of your ass.
Ah, that's about as funny as a screen door on a battleship. I'll hunt you and shoot you down like a duck.
So why don't you make like a tree?
Why don't you make like a tree?
Hey, I'm talking to you, McFly, you Irish bug. that bug George McFly, and get out of here. And get out of here. Say hi to your mom for me.
What a great supercut.
That is a great supercut. I want to give props to the person who posted it. Piatopia.
Yeah, from like 10 years ago. But
it's so good and so hilarious.
I love Tom Wilson. Because like seeing all the different ways he's himself.
Butthead.
Like in the Old West, and he's older when he's a kid.
Calls him yellow.
It's just Tom Wilson is so good. Tom Wilson, we know you're listening, but you are just great. You're a great human being.
Yes.
Like, and you own it all. Like I know that everyone keeps bringing up Biff over the past 30 years, but like
especially right now when it's really relevant.
Yeah, and obviously Biff in the movies, in Back to the Future 2, he is basically Donald Trump. And as we all know, Donald Trump is the biggest asshole in the world. So it's fitting.
He just hasn't time traveled, so that's why he's not on the
that we know of.
God, I hope not. He cannot have control of time travel. So for Biff,
time travel made that guy a real asshole.
Yeah.
The side effects of Marty time traveling.
Yes.
But no, I agree with you, Matt. Tom Wilson does not give enough credit.
Yeah.
He's so great in those movies.
He really is. Well, there's our asshole list. That was fun.
Yes.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. So now we will do our bottom 5 movies that we've done.
Yeah, and this is kind of unrelated to our ratings. This is just like kind of the essence or the experience, the conversations.
Yeah.
Just overall, kind of looking back. Like for the way I used it was like looking back. What were the 5 least favorite not conversations, because they're all fun. Listen to all the episodes. Yeah, looking back, what are the 5 that I'm like, oh, why did we have to watch that movie?
No, I definitely wouldn't say conversations.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
some of them are great conversations.
Are good conversations, even if we didn't like the movies.
Yes,
sometimes
true.
It's even better that way. So,
yes.
Hyde, why don't you start with your bottom?
My bottom.
Your bottom.
Starting with
number 5.
Number 5.
Okay, my bottom list of least favorite episodes. Not that these are my least favorite movies. Again, just to reiterate.
Okay.
Number 5 has to be Slipstream. Not only there are some bad movies. We talked about A Sound of Thunder, but they're really entertaining.
Yes.
Slipstream is just bad. It's not entertaining. There's a nonsensical gunfight in the middle of the movie, which is on our YouTube page, and gosh, it's just everything about that movie is wrong. And I like Sean Astin, and this movie it takes a lot for me to hate Sean Astin in a movie. And man, did this movie make me hate him in under 5 minutes, which is pretty impressive. Yeah. I don't know if I'd be impressed with Sean Astin's acting or not.
Yeah.
But, but it was so miserable. And it was just not a fun episode to talk about. I listened to a couple clips from it a few nights ago, and
we're all just like, why do we watch this movie?
Yeah.
It's just like a slog,
But I'm glad we did the movie, because now we can have all this to talk about.
Exactly. Cool. So number 4, Time Travel's Wife. Jen alluded to this earlier. It was a mess of an episode.
Yeah.
I know it's one of our most listened to episodes, and it's definitely not one of our worst movies that we review, and it's part of the Rachel McAdams time travel saga, so I'll always hold a special place in my heart. That being said, this was the episode that kind of broke us early on, and made us realize we had to really retool the show. Mm-hmm. And it was a really rough episode to get to and to record and to edit and all this other jazz. And I just remember being a very unpleasant experience.
Number 3
would have to be Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I actually still like the movie, but this episode made me like the movie less because it forced me to not look at it with rose-tinted glasses or nostalgia goggles, whatever it is. And so I had to really come face to face with some problems about the movie, and that was not fun.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation. It's actually probably a really fun episode to listen to if you kind of want to have your nostalgia killed.
Yeah.
For me, it was a little sad. Number 2 is Synchronicity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Boring movie. The best thing about this movie is, of course, it gave us the asshole clip. Outside of that, everything about this movie was just awful, and it felt like a chore to really watch it. I remember I fell asleep watching it. I think I talked about it in the episode.
Yeah.
I fell asleep at one point watching the movie. Same Slipstream actually as well.
Yeah.
Displacement is my number 1 least favorite episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun episode to listen to. I think as an audience member, you will have a lot of fun listening to our Displacement episode because we just rag on this movie. But as far as an experience of having to watch the movie, having to break it down, having to actually pay attention to a movie like this was just, man, it was like, I'm pretty sure, I think at this point we had already talked about eventually ending the show soon. But man, did that episode make me feel like, okay,
Yeah,
it's
we
about
were in
time
like
to end the show.
a run of all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was number 70. So
Yeah. It was really starting to run on fumes at that point.
Nice, that's a good list.
Yeah, my bottom 5 started at number 5. This would probably be similar to probably all of ours because I think
We're all kind of the same.
We have some similarities, but for me, number 5 is Synchronicity. You know, for the same reasons, but I just really didn't. I hated how at the end the last dude arrived in a timeline where there wasn't a wormhole. Like that, your rules are you jump through wormholes, and he went through a timeline where he never did it. So it's just I hated it. And it's same reason. It's kind of just boring. Number 4 is Displacement for me. Again, same reasons. It's exhausting. It's just a bunch of time travel jargon and just kind of a mess. And ugh. Number 3 for me is Hot Tub Time Machine. I hated when John Cusack arrived in the future. He erased his past self. They had no mention that he was going to remember everything. He was like, what is this life I have now? He just, 30 years, or 20 years or whatever, he erased that life that he had. His wife, that the person that she's been married to for 20 years is now dead. It's the person she met in the 80s, which is horrifying to think of. Like, can you imagine being married to someone and they reverted to their mind from 20 years ago or whatever?
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is Slipstream. Just a bad movie.
Yeah.
Just not good.
And what's your number 1?
Number 1 for me, I'm singling out this movie. It was a 2-parter that we did in the episode.
Exactly what this
it is S. Darko.
Yep. I knew this would be on your list.
The rules for Donnie Darko. There are rules. They were made up for the movie. The director wrote them, but he's made them up. But he wrote them down. They are so explicitly written down that they're in the director's cut of the movie in writing. And the writers for S. Darko just didn't care. They didn't care to learn the rules.
He's still bitter.
They just were like, oh yeah, the movie had a bunny, the movie had a meteor or whatever, or the movie had all this stuff. Let's put it in there and just don't care about the rules. So and it's also just a bad movie. They just did not care. And for that reason, you are my least favorite of all the ones that we did.
Nice.
That's a good one.
I have honorable mentions, so I'll start with those. Bill and Ted. Frequency. Sorry, I just didn't like it. And Synchronicity. And Prince of Persia. Was kind of on the cusp.
Okay.
Yeah. Sand Cleavage. My number 5 is When We First Met. I have such a strong love of rom-coms that movie was so poorly done of it that it had to be there for me. I'm sorry, but
for you it's like, how dare you go into my territory?
Genuinely it is. Like Netflix rom-coms, they're either great or they're terrible. There kind of is no in between. So there you go. Number 4 is Displacement. As we've mentioned, blah blah blah. So number 3 for me is Primer. I know you might be surprised it's not number 1. Is number 3 because I couldn't put it all the way at the bottom because it does do time travel and it, even though I hate pretty much everything about that movie, at least it does more complex time travel. So number 2 for me is Slipstream. And I think Slipstream is on all of ours.
Yeah. Yep.
And number 1 for me was Hot Tub Time Machine.
There you go.
There we go. So
that's funny.
But our bottom 5, I'm not surprised they're all kind of similar.
Yeah.
I think our top though are going to be more different.
Yeah, I have some.
I think
I have a
there will
couple
be
of
some overlapping, but
yeah. If someone's doing a bracket, I may have an upset for everyone.
So are we going to round robin it 5?
Yeah,
4,
I think
3,
we should for this one, just because
top 5.
because otherwise, if we all end up doing the same ones, then mine are like with the bottom. Mine are kind of not as interesting. So.
I want to give an honorable mention. I know some.
Yeah, I have honorable mentions too. Let's start with those.
Sure. Yeah.
Your honorable mentions first.
So my honorable. I only have one honorable mention. It's Arrival.
Okay.
It's a very interesting episode to talk about because it's probably one of our most disparate time travel ratings in an episode. Looking back,
is it?
We are all over the place. Some people weren't really a big fan of the time travel. Some are in the middle. I really liked the time travel. It's one of my highest rated time travel movies. But some people hated the way the time travel was used in the movie. So if you want to just hear a very very deep conversation about our time travel, I recommend Arrival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have honorable mentions?
I think one that won't be on our top 5. I'm trying to choose ones that I know won't be in the top 5, but I want to give honorable mention to ARQ, ARQ.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that really stood out in terms of like top 5, but I really did like that movie.
Yeah, that one is on Netflix, so we
It's-
do recommend that.
Yeah, I recommend people seeing it.
that's
It won't be in
cool.
my top 5, but I recommend it.
Yeah.
I like that.
I have a number of honorable mentions, which I guess is good, but I liked a lot of movies. First, I wanted to give a shout out to Time Trap, because that movie was really fun.
Yes.
Obviously, we just talked about it, but that one, I wanted to give an honorable mention, because if that was a movie we had done, kind of somewhere within like a full episode, I think we would have,
Yeah, it would have good ratings.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to mention that. Edge of Tomorrow, kind of on the cusp.
Yeah,
of
that was on my
honorable
list of
mention.
honorable mentions too.
Source Code is an honorable mention. Men in Black 3 and Twilight Zone.
Nice.
Okay.
Honorable mentions. So let's start number 5. Why don't you start?
Okay, my number 5 is Triangle. It's a
Okay.
really fun episode. It's also a movie I would have never discovered if I hadn't done this podcast.
Same.
And for that alone, it has to be one of my favorite episodes because it was such a pleasantly, surprisingly good film.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to talk about. That's a movie I can rewatch in like tomorrow and maybe pick up something new.
Yeah.
So yeah, Triangle's number 5.
For me, number 5 is Primer. Just because there's a lot to think about, and when I really got down and really got in the dirt with the time travel and all the timelines, I had to like go outside of the movie to get all the information I needed. And someone kind of put together a timeline that made sense. But it's really fun to think about all the way that it has to work for it all to kind of come together. And I think for that, it's definitely worth it. Granted, the movie has its faults. But for the time travel, it really does stand out for me in my mind.
I like that it's in your top and my bottom. I think that's
Yeah.
funny. So my number 5 is X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Oh, that's
Cool.
a good one.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times at this point. Watched the Rogue cut, and it's an enjoyable movie. The time travel that they use is enjoyable. It's rewatchable. So yeah, that's my number 5.
Cool.
Number 4, I'm choosing A Sound of Thunder. Kind of what we
Nice.
talked about earlier, so I won't talk about too much more. But it truly is a rewatchable bad film. And the
Yes.
episode is hilarious to
Yes.
listen to.
Yeah.
Just listening to us just trying to wrap around our minds around time waves is great. So that is a very fun movie to listen to and watch, and a very fun episode to listen to, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, number 4 is Triangle. Same reasons why you said it, Hyde, because it's, when I saw it, I was like, I want to own that movie, and I bought it on Blu-ray, and we have it, and I'm glad I did. It's just it's a surprisingly good movie, and the lead is a woman that kind of doesn't really have a romantic. She's a woman that just is going through some shit, and I think that's kind of noteworthy for all the movies that we've reviewed.
Yeah, my number 4 is also Triangle, so I'm not going to talk
Nice, cool,
about it. And I love it. Rewatchable, and we would definitely watch that movie again.
There you go.
So the next one, I actually have a note here that I realized, and
Number 3.
for number 3, it ended up becoming an honorable mention, which was Predestination. That's an honorable mention for me, and I'm not going to get into that in case it's on someone else's list, but it is an honorable mention for me. What I actually ended up going as number 3 was Groundhog Day.
Really?
The reason I like that episode a lot is because Groundhog Day is such a classic, and
It
we
is.
really break down a lot about it. Also, that was also an episode where we had Clayton Snyder with us, recording
was fun.
with us.
That was
and
a lot
that
of
was
fun.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Having that
Shout out to Clay.
extra,
Yeah.
element to it. Yeah.
That was fun, yeah.
That was a fun episode. So that's just it's not because anything about the movie in particular. I just think all around that episode was a lot of fun to do.
Nice.
So that's number 3.
Okay. For me, number 3 is Interstellar. It's probably the hardest sci in terms of sci-fi that we've done. They had an actual physicist on board, and Christopher Nolan really wanted to make it kind of work with a black hole and relativity. And then they go into pure sci-fi, which jumped into the wormhole. But they had enough. They had stuff in the past that he was affecting, and then all that stuff. So yeah, it's I had to give it a spot on my list. I like the movie, and it's a lot of science. So
Cool. So my number 3 is Predestination. There you go.
There you go.
That movie is really great. It's another one that I would say for me I wouldn't watch if we hadn't done this podcast,
Yeah.
probably. But I'm really glad that I did see it because it's really just interweaving stories so well. And then at the end, when it's kind of revealed, the big twist, which I won't spoil it in case people haven't seen it and want to watch it. But it's so satisfying. And then you're just like, what? what?
Yeah.
And it's so, and then everything kind of comes together and makes sense. It's so good. So I really enjoyed Predestination.
That's a good one. So number 2, this begins like whenever someone asks me like what episodes did I listen to for the podcast, these 2 are usually one of the 2s that I bring up to somebody.
Okay.
So number 2 is Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh
The
my
reason
God.
is that episode we are so heated and so against each
Sure we
other
are.
on how we feel about that movie, about the time travel, about everything, about the characters.
That's great, yeah.
And that just makes for good listening. Whether whether it was a miserable experience to record or not, it makes for very great podcast material because, man, are we angry at each other during an episode.
Okay.
Are we really? I haven't
Well,
listened to it in a while.
Angry in quotation marks.
We just disagree on, yeah.
But it was fierce disagreement. Like, sometimes we disagree and we're like, oh, I disagree on that. This one we were like, no, man, like, you're wrong.
No, proudly, I do want to say, though, because of how heated I was against the men in that movie during that episode, we had a guy tweet at us that he had to stop listening to our podcast because of my man hating. And I just
Right.
want to say how proud I am of that.
Yeah.
Because you're an
Misandry.
asshole and we don't want you to listen to us anyway, dude.
You're misandry, Jen. You're misandry.
That's right. Like, yes, I'm allowed to hate on men who are assholes. It's my podcast.
We just did a whole list about it.
Yeah, we did.
All right, for me, number 2. This is my first pick for the podcast. We did it very early on. I saw it before the podcast, and I still love it. It is Time Crimes.
Copy in my list.
Nope, I did it. I did it without looking at your list.
Mhm.
It's Time Crimes number 2. It's a great movie, and I suggest everyone to see it. I don't want to spoil more because you can say whatever you want, but it's a great movie.
I can say whatever I want.
Yes.
Number 2 for me is Time Crimes as well. I love this movie. This is the movie I always recommend to people to watch for time travel. Always, 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 always. And it was really fun too when we were chatting with the directors of Time Trap earlier that they had seen Time Crimes as well, and so it was like fun to kind of mention some of these. Like, these are our favorite time travel movies, and they had actually like seen them or heard of them. And
Yeah, time travel
that was
nerds.
really fun,
They know.
I enjoyed that a lot. So, yeah, Time Crimes is so great. My friend David actually recommended this movie to me in college, sophomore year, and I didn't watch it. And so, David, if you're listening, I am so sorry I didn't watch that movie, and you're so right. This movie is so good. I didn't watch it until I started dating Matt, and he showed it to me. So that was probably 6 years after it was recommended.
Wow.
So I regret not seeing it earlier because it's a great movie.
My number one favorite episode is Interstellar. I think Interstellar, because kind of what you were talking about, Matt, it's subtle, hard sci-fi. It's the most realistic form of time travel.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times friends, coworkers, family members will come to me and they say, we listened to the Interstellar episode and we loved that episode.
Yeah.
My family last year was driving up from Philadelphia to Cincinnati for Christmas, and they were like, we listened to Interstellar, we listened to that episode on the way up, and we had so much fun like talking about it. Because they'd all seen the movie, my grandma, my uncle, and my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had seen the movie and they were able to talk about it and they were able to listen to it. And
Nice.
so I just think it's one of those episodes that really sums up, like, that's the episode we had to like really put on the work gloves and like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
we're breaking down this time travel. We got to really talk about this.
Yeah.
And so I think that's number 1 for me.
Cool. All right. Number 1 for me is A Sound of Thunder.
That's a good one.
Like Jen mentioned earlier, I gave it a 2, and I said I'll never see it again.
That's
But
pretty
then
funny.
I bought it, and I love it.
Yeah.
So
That's a good one.
I just love that movie. It's so bad and so great.
Mm-hmm.
And our conversation, we just had so much fun tearing it apart. That really is the epitome of like just a bad movie to talk about with your friends and just have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Decoys.
for me, like looking back on all
Shout out to Bobby.
decoys. Yeah. So looking back on all 80 episodes, Sound of Thunder really stands out for me. It's great.
So I have a 1.5 and a number 1.
Okay.
Because I had a number 1, but anyway, so whatever. It's my podcast and do what I want. So 1.5 for me is Doctor Who.
Okay.
Just because I love it so much and
Yes.
time travel is so interesting, blah, blah, blah. So my number 1, I have to pick Back to the Future.
Yes, I thought you would.
Just
you
all
would get the
around.
love for it.
All around great everything. It's one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, probably.
Yeah, first episode of the podcast.
It's so great. I'm sure most people in the world have seen it. If you haven't,
We have a
what are
poster
you
of it.
doing?
Yeah, like,
Watch it, please.
And I think Hyde and I, we both do love Back to the Future also, but I think we also wanted to kind of spread out the love to
For sure.
5 other movies. And,
Yeah.
and I think it's appropriate that you have it on yours because
Yeah.
you started the podcast, that was your first pick, and you gave it the appropriate love as the final number one pick.
We started our podcast on Back to the Future Day.
Yes.
Which is cool. So, a couple little housekeeping things I wanted to mention. So I went through and checked when we started doing like our actual intro, like, welcome, whatever, I'm
Right.
Jen, I'm Matt, I'm Hyde, and we're the
The
Time Travel Trio. It wasn't until episode 15 that we actually started doing that.
Wow.
And doing it
It,
correctly.
it does sound weird to go back and
It
hear
sounds weird.
us.
Like our first few episodes, we used the phrase discussion leader.
Oh, wow.
Like the movies that we picked were like the discussion leader because we're like
right.
before we
It
change
sounds really
it's
weird.
very weird, and I'm so sorry for people who go back and listen to those, and that's what it sounds like because it like made me cringe. So those were the only things I wanted to
and
mention.
every time it would be like, I'm Jen, I'm Hyde, and I'm Matt. We're like, no, that's not the right order.
That's not right. We have our order, we have our thing. So that's all I got.
I had one, like, you know, I wanted to have a little bit for like final notes.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I mean, a couple things. Some of these movies don't necessarily need to watch them. Some of them you just need to go and check out the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, there are some of these trailers that are just so much fun to watch. Free Jack is one of my favorite trailers for one of our Time Travel movies because it literally starts off with Emilio Estevez driving in an Indy car, and then the trailer voice is going like, such and such is about to die. And, you know, honestly, this has been like so much fun.
It has been, yeah.
Doing all this. And like, I hope that there are people here who have maybe not listened to every episode, who'll go back and listen to some of these episodes we mentioned today. And if you've been, listening to us from episode 1, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Special shout out, yeah.
Thank you
That's
so much.
amazing. We did this and weren't even sure anyone would listen, and it's cool. Like our Back to the Future episode is almost, it has close to 1,000 plays on SoundCloud. It's pretty cool. So, we're honored to have talked time travel to you for a long time, and we did everything we wanted to do.
Yeah,
so
this for us is an accomplishment. We achieved this.
If we the only way we would ever do another episode is if for some reason we got to interview Rachel McAdams and or Bruce Willis. It is the only reason we would ever come back. So don't get your hopes up because there's another big time travel movie that comes out, whatever, or Avengers 4 has time travel in it or something. Like, we're done. Pretty much.
We still have our Twitter account, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that will be updated every once in a while.
Well, we will probably watch the big things that come out that people want us to talk about, but we're not going to do episodes. We may tweet about it, maybe. But yeah, we're gonna be civilians now. We're gonna be civilians that know a lot about time travel.
So there we go. We hope you enjoyed listening to us.
Yeah, our deluxe size episode.
I know it's
appropriate for the finale.
It's a super long one, but it's our last one. So, and there's a lot of fun stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to almost 2 hours probably of this. But all our episodes are streaming on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Please feel free to rate, subscribe, or recommend to your friends. We do appreciate that still.
Yeah, and reach out to us on our personal accounts.
Personal.
Please do.
I'm at Jen Marlis on Twitter and on Instagram.
And I am at Foreman in Space on those.
And I'm at Robinson is Hyde.
And
with that,
we are out of time.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.